Hey everybody, and welcome back to Planet Build. In today's video, it's already time for part 16 of Moderno Tropicano, and we're going to add more areas to the safari tour that we started working on in the last video. So first of all, I wanted to thank you guys for the support and for the views on my video. There were some videos that went to the roof when it comes to views on my channel. Um, but I can say I'm quite getting the hang of it right now, and I enjoy just building these things for you guys and to hear all those comments on what you guys think about my builds and what you guys think about my video making. So I really appreciate that. Thank you for that. But for now, it's time to start working on these two habitats. And as you can see, I prepared some buildings which I can use for the rest of the habitats. And I prepared some stairs and some floors and some structures which I can combine easily. And I did that because I didn't want it to take up that much time for you guys just to see me create those buildings, because as I said in my previous videos, I do need some time to prepare those buildings. I'm not that good in building something from scratch, so I had to come up with some ideas before I can easily put in those buildings. And because both the monorail as the safari tour is going to these 4 or 5 habitats, I wanted to create some buildings where the safari tour would go through, but also the monorail would go through, so both will blend in nicely with the safari area. So we're almost done working on the first section of the habitat we built in the last video. I still had to cover up some edges on that side of the habitat. Probably when everything is finished, all those 4 or 5 habitats are finished, I still need to do some detail work, but that will be something for later. So for the second habitat, I wanted to add some rhinos and some zebras and probably some other small animals. And as I said before, I wanted to cover up the edges of those habitats with rocks, but the entrance building of the safari tour is in front of this habitat. So what I did is I replaced those concrete habitat walls, just one with a glass wall. So if you're inside the entrance area and you're going to board those safari jeeps, you get an actual look on the second habitat while you're boarding, and I think that adds a little bit more detail to this habitat and also for the guest experience. So for the shelters in all these habitats, I wanted to create some different types of shelters. So I made some caves, but I also used some buildings for shelter. And the zebras require a different type of shelter and a different size of shelter than maybe the rhino or the hippo. So um, it was nice to play with some different kind of shelters. Because the safari area is a huge open area, I also wanted to add some buildings and some scenery, just to give it a little bit more height and some cover. That it's not one big open field. So what I did here is I used some pre-built buildings that I made for this habitat, and I'm just going to copy paste it and adjust some things just to make one building, and in the end just add a little bit of scenery just to finish it off and make it look like it blended in with the environment. So for the third habitat, we're going to add some hippos, and those hippos require a lot of water. So what I did offline is I already added some water to this section, and I did that because I wanted to add a waterfall, and I'm always struggling with the waterfalls. You know, you wanted to have a small edge between those two water areas. Otherwise, it's not a natural looking waterfall. So I had to do some offline work here, but I think this will help creating a beautiful waterfall. And as I said, the hippos require a lot of water. I added two hippos, and they both require a total of 1,500 square meters of water area. And as you can see here, I'm using a lot of rocks. There are so many rocks in this safari area. And I'm using the desert rock because I think it blends in with the theming, the Western theming I had in mind. And I don't want to use the rocks all over the place, but I'm going to use them for the sides of the habitat, and I think they blend in well with the waterfall. So I wanted to cover up the whole area here on both sides of the waterfall. So for this habitat, I guess this is the habitat which requires the most buildings. Um, so that's one of the main reasons I prepared a lot of woodwork just to copy paste it and use it to just build quickly and easily. And as you can see here, I had to add in a bridge because the track of the Jeep Safari is going over the water, and also a section going underneath the bridge. Now once you get the hang of it and you got some pieces to work with, it's actually quite easily just to copy paste and to just adjust some small things, and it's quite easily to make a bridge like this. Once the breach is done, it is time to add some shelter for those animals in this habitat, the hippo and the... I'm actually not quite sure what they say in English, but in Holland we call it the penseelzwijn. So we're going to add some shelter, and I came up with this idea to make a fake looking station, an old looking station like in the Western time, for the monorail. So I'm going to combine those two, make a fake station for the monorail and add a shelter area in the same building. And as I said before, once you get the hang of it and you got the pieces to work with, it's quite easily to just make a building quickly out of the pieces you've used already. So as you can see here, I'm just covering up the edges with some rocks. And you can also see the stuff path I had to add in. And there was something I didn't really calculate it well when it comes to staff infrastructure. I mostly for habitat 1 and 2, I use those habitat walls on the fully on the outside of the park boundaries. So I had no room for any electricity, for some water containment, so I had to fix that offline. So what I did is I created a small area between habitat 1 and 2. I had to adjust those habitat walls, and I had to add in the water containment and the electricity. And I used a tunnel just to create a staff path underneath those habitats. But there's still some work to do regarding those staff facilities, mostly around the safari area, but that's probably something I'm going to do offline. And with that being said, and this building almost ready, it is time to add the rest of the foliage and the scenery to this habitat. And once that is finished, those both habitats are done. And as I said before in this video, I'm probably going to add more detail or adjust some small things, which I'm not happy with at the moment, but that will be something for later. So when I mentioned those hippos needed a lot of water, I meant a lot of water. And when I was checking out the heat map for those animals, I discovered that they didn't have enough water. So what I did is I had to add in a small pond over there, and I recreated the same waterfall as I used on the other side, but I created it on this side. And they should have enough water area right now. It's about 1600, I guess, where they need 1500. So that's enough for them. And with that being said, it is almost time to wrap up this video. It took me quite longer than usual, just because I had to add in those buildings, and they were two large habitats, so there was a lot of area I had to cover up with a huge amount of foliage and a huge amount of rocks. But I'm quite happy with the 3 habitats so far, and there are still 2 habitats to come. I'm not quite sure which animals I'm going to add in those habitats, but I'm quite happy with the way these 2 habitats turned out. I like the buildings, I like the way the bridge goes over the middle section of this habitat, and then the safari also goes underneath the bridge. So yeah, I'm quite happy, and I can't wait to finish off this area and finish off another section of Moderno Tropicano. But for now, it's time to say goodbye. I hope to see you guys in the next video. And if you got any suggestions on what animals I should use for the next 2 habitats in this area, please let me know. And also let me know what you think on the things that we built today. And hope to see you guys next time. Bye bye.